All right, INDYCAR fans, we are live to talk about strategy and answer your questions for the Sonsio Grand Prix. So start getting them in because we've been running out of time lately. There's been a lot of Q&A, and we want to make sure that you are prepared to smoke your friends and smoke the competition in your league this weekend. So go to that chat bar if you have questions about your lineup, if you have questions about fantasy strategy for this weekend, or even anything more basic, how the game works. Happy to answer them. Quick introductions before we get going. My name is Ross. I'm the founder and CEO of GridRival. With me today, I have Michael Ursinoli, our CTO, Ryan Booth, Director of Business Operations, William Laddie, Principal Software Engineer, and our increasingly I don't know, showing up quite a bit more often is Chase Holden.
Got a nice
GridRival
new
brand
tag
ambassador.
this week. Hi.
So before we get going, reminder to like and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to get notified about these events in the future. Make sure you don't miss out. Otherwise, you're going to be relying on push notifications, which I think we all know sometimes we miss. Let's get started. Quick recap of last week, fantasy salary wise, performance wise. We had 14 drivers go up in value, 13 down. Same thing I said last week. Very even with IndyCar. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Across the board, it's just like you look at the drivers that went up and the drivers that went down. It's a very smooth curve, which is kind of, I don't know. I don't think we experienced that exactly in the NASCAR Cup fantasy game or in the F1 game. So it's really interesting to see. Big winners last week. I think we predicted these, by the way. Rhinus VK up, the only driver up 2 million. Nolan Siegel in close second, up 1.9. Graham Rahal up 1.4. Lundgaard 1.3. Rossi 1.3. Christian Rasmussen 1.1 million. Malukas up 1.1 million. Then you had Daly, Pelot, Dixon, McLaughlin, Kirkwood, DeFrancesco, Callum Ilott, all up somewhere between about 300 and 500,000 in price. On the losing side, any guesses? I mean, I know you guys know, but
I think I called one of those last week.
which ones? The winners or losers?
One of the losers,
Who'd you call? Do you remember?
New Gordon.
You did.
Yeah.
Down at 900,000. No real big losses though.
Yeah,
Which is
it's
good.
interesting. So
Big
we're now
Penske's.
4 races into the season. We've had exactly one full course yellow this entire season, and it was lap 1 of the season. There
That
should be
is
some
wild.
sign. Yellows are preventable. We've gone X number of laps without a full course yellow.
Yeah, that is.
So you don't have these big swings because everyone's finishing races.
You got Newgarden now priced at 21.8 ahead of the Indy 500 coming up here, and of course we'll see how he does this weekend. But if he stays flat, that'll be a good buy going into the 500.
Huge.
Will Power down 900K as well. Rough weekend for Penske. Ferrucci down 700, Ericsson 400. And then you got Foster, Schwartzman, Simpson, Jacob Abel, our boy Stingray, all down about 300 to 300. And actually, I misspoke. There's 3 drivers that were flat. They were highlighted in red on my sheet. So Pato, Herta, and Rosenquist all stayed flat going to the weekend. Qualifying just concluded. Any feedback from y'all? Any thoughts? Any standouts? Any
The entire Rahal team? They
Yeah.
seem to
Top
they seem
six?
to really have this thing figured out. Yeah,
They made history today. That is their first time ever being in the Fast Six collectively as a team since inception. So huge day for Rahal, Linderman, Lanigan Racing.
I didn't catch all of the qualifying session. How many sets of reds got used in the process?
A good bit for them.
Yeah, so the interesting twist for this weekend, for those who don't know, tomorrow for the race tomorrow, there's a requirement that you run at least 2 laps on 2 sets of both compounds. You have to do two laps or more stints on reds, and then 2 on blacks. They can be stickers, they can be scuffs, but you do have to make at least 3 pit stops as a result. And you do, or maybe you do want to preserve some sticker reds or not. Like maybe you want to emphasize qualifying and just try to hold on with your scuffs. I think some teams are playing that angle, and we're going to see how that works out tomorrow.
I would have saved them. I think I'd rather just start fifth and sixth and save that set of tires than try and go for it and start second or third, because you're never going to beat Pelot, especially when he went out on stickers. So
Yeah, that was a brief moment we thought.
There's a question, and I think it's a good opportunity to us to frame how to give us questions on this show. Alex Keane, if you're still with us, you said, what do you think is lineup Pelot, Rahal, Lundgaard, Simpson, Herta, Malukas? If you're listening and you want us to review a lineup, we also would love to have you include how many race contracts you're thinking of signing. So you just put that in parentheses. So put Pelot 3, Rahal 2, how much money you have left in your bank as well. And if you want, also team value. And then lastly, if there's any drivers you're locked out of. I know it sounds like a lot. We need to have like a template that we put out at the end of the show.
and the biggest thing too is us knowing who you have, like who is locked into a contract right now and who's an open spot. It's like, is Herta locked, or is Herta locked in your lineup and you have to drop him, or is Herta like a guy you picked up that you could just get rid of and swap easily?
Any other thoughts about quali?
I feel terrible about my lineup because I thought I planned this well in carrying over drivers I wanted to not have for the 500. So I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm going to be paying about a drop fee for 3 drivers at this moment just for Sonsio and then reshuffling them for the 500. So I don't know, this quali put me, what's the expression, on the heels of your feet? Is that right?
On the back foot.
On the back foot. I feel, yeah. And I had a good showing for Barber. I had one of my better results, and I'm not feeling good about my contract length selections all of a sudden with these quality results.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen how much I smoked all of you last week in our league?
You did. That was not fun.
Up 6 million
Yeah.
in team value, 733 points.
I just look at the
Jeez.
total standings and who has the most points and who's in first place. That's
Look,
my
let's
concern.
see. I'm only 127 points behind. I could close that gap this weekend.
Speaking of being behind, I think my last qualifying thought, we talked about the Rahal team being a great surprise. I think my biggest disappointment was I expected a lot more out of Lundgaard. I think this was a track everyone kind of had him targeted to perform extremely well at, and probably be one of those guys like he's going to finish on the podium and potentially could be the guy challenging Pelot. And that doesn't seem to be the case. He qualified 14th, which is a big disappointment for him and something that I was not expecting. I wanted him on my lineup this week. I'd already kind of penciled him in, and now I'm rethinking it. Might still put him in there because I think he'll move up, but I expected him to qualify much better than he did.
He was one of
Also-
my top drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're looking at Pato being kind of the guy here. He qualified 8th, so that's our best McLaren driver of this race, which is funny because we did like a little short picks on Speed Street this week, and that's where Connor took Pato over Lundgaard, so he's kind of showing his brilliance there a little bit.
But even Pato at 8th is not a great showing for our McLaren right now.
Well, let's think of it as an opportunity for overtake points. Like the nice thing about INDYCAR versus our F1 game is we don't have points for qualifying. Nothing that happens today actually cost you any fantasy points.
Mhm.
It did just set you back track position, but it did present an opportunity for overtake points. And I think Pato might realize some of that opportunity. I think Lundgaard might realize some of that opportunity. You don't get out of round 1 qualifying. The good news is you didn't burn through some sets of tires in qualifying, and he may have some stickers that others don't have tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Will Power is in a great spot. He didn't burn through a set of tires. He's starting 7th, and there are 3 guys. Nothing against those guys who qualified extremely well today, but over the course of a race, Foster, DiFrancesco, and who am I missing? Rahal are not going to finish ahead of Will Power unless he has a problem. But I think all of those guys are going.
Are
to
you
move up.
adding either of those guys to your team this weekend, though? Would you be taking a one racer? Because at 5.2 and 5.7 million, qualifying 3rd and 5th. I mean, if they can hold. Yeah, go ahead.
They had 2 top 10s last year. Just looking at last year's Indy GP, they did have 2 cars in the top 10. Those were Lundgaard and Rahal. Lundgaard's now with McLaren. I wouldn't even necessarily say one race contract. I'd consider 2 because they may give us a surprise at Indy 500 qualifying, and these guys are in the cheaper end. The drop fee wouldn't be that bad if Indy qualifying doesn't go so well. But Graham Rahal might surprise us next weekend in qualifying.
What the strategy that you have to play right now with RLL is the DNF game, right? Because if you sign any one of these drivers to a 1 or 2 race contract, what you're banking on is them shooting up $2 million in value, as well as bringing in a insane points haul for 5.7 million dollars. So for me, what I'm looking at is I'm definitely looking to sign one of these 3, but I'm playing who do I think has the least chance of a DNF, not who's going to be the best out of the 3, which one is not going to DNF. Because as of right now, I think all 3 of them are in contention for a $2 million value increase, which I would take every day of the week.
So who are you taking? Rahal?
I'm still doing. I still got to do my DNF research, but I think Rahal is the safest bet, but he's also the most expensive, so it's also the least chance of the full $2 million. The
other thing is too, if Foster or DeFrancesco did DNF, you're not talking about you don't lose much.
You don't lose much, but it's also like So I might go the cheapest route with Foster. Just to have the cheapest and then stack the lineup ahead. And then also, since I'm probably going to have to pay some drop fees, that might help me recoup. Like if Foster finishes well, he's quality 3rd. If he finishes in the top 10, he'll be up, I think, likely 2 million. So, and there's a good chance I'm paying $2 million in drop fees today. So
if it's DNFs you're looking for, I think you got to wait for the 500. Like we might have another clean race tomorrow, and I don't think we start losing cars again in any kind of numbers until we get back to the oval racing. So like Indy, Gateway.
The lack of DNFs, in my opinion, help RLL in this situation because safety car shenanigans. So I agree they're going to drop position. I don't think they're going to drop a ton.
Yeah, if we even lose any cars.
Yeah.
Like again, 0 full course yellows since lap 1 at St. Pete.
Yeah. 2 second, 3rd, and 5th.
I mean, there's a lot of speed behind them, though. You're looking at McLaughlin, Power, Newgarden, like those aren't like back markers behind them.
Those are the I'm expecting them to all come up, get those sweet overtake points. Congrats, Team Penske. But they're going to drop back. But I don't know if they're going to drop back. I don't know if Foster's going to drop back 10 positions.
Yeah. My other hesitation is guys like Foster and DeFrancesco, for the most part this year, have been racing against other guys in the back to the middle of the back. Like they haven't been racing against these guys who are finishing the top half every single week. And I think they're going to make for pretty easy overtakes for a lot of these guys. I think so.
Let's get to some Q&A. Alex Kane gave us some more details on his lineup, so we'll get to that in a second. But going all the way back to the top, Ryan Goon asked, anything special for picks for the 500? I think it is worth noting how you guys are thinking about the next 2 events, 3 events, 4 events, with the Indy 500 being so key. And obviously, it's it's not worth any more points like it was in the old INDYCAR game. So say treat it maybe just more like a traditional oval, but for planning contracts, William, you're a master contract planner. How are you thinking about setting up your lineups and your picks this week?
We need a disclaimer on the contracts first, though. William, I'll let you take it. I'll tee you up for it. Indy 500 quali, one-off drivers for the 500, because both of those go into contract planning.
Yes, I'll throw that in. So right now, the one-off entries for the Indy 500, we are planning to put them in the game, and the point is to do that after qualifying next weekend, so we know which 6 actually qualified for the race, or perhaps which 7. Maybe it's one of the full timers that gets left out. Those charters don't guarantee you a spot in the Indy 500. So
And what happens if you have a chartered driver who doesn't make it into the 500, but they're under active contract?
they're going to get a big fat 0 for the Indy 500. So you'll probably want to drop them. But yeah, so the one-off drivers, we're going to put them in the game after qualifying. Beyond that, as I'm planning my contract lengths, I am thinking about who I want available for the Indy 500. So if I want somebody for the 500 and this is their last race, maybe I drop them and eat the cool down now, and I have them for Indy. If I'm signing somebody, I want them for Indy, I'm signing them for at least 2 races. And if I'm feeling that way about somebody, they're probably more of an oval guy, and so I am looking to maybe lock them up for 4 races, which would take you to the next oval, which is Gateway. So it's Indy, Detroit Street Course, Gateway, Road America, and then the next oval is 2 rounds after that, the Iowa doubleheader, which the Iowa doubleheader will be 2 separate races, but we'll tell you about that when we get closer to Iowa. So, yeah, my oval guys, I'm doing 2 races, or I'm doing 4+ races. So I have them for the ovals. And so that's really the key thing with contract lengths as we head towards Indy. If there is a one-off driver that you're going to want for Indy, make sure that you have somebody coming off so that you can sign, say, Kyle Larson or Elio Castroneves or Takuma Sato.
William, what happens if I sign Kyle Larson and he does not make it to the event, even if he qualifies?
You mean if he physically doesn't start the Indy 500?
If he physically doesn't start the Indy 500.
Okay, so it depends. So it actually depends. If McLaren ends up withdrawing the car entirely, he gets a big fat 0. However, it sounds like they are going to give somebody a refresher and enough practice time on one day so that they could substitute, in which case that would be a substitution. In the picks game, Larson gets voided. In the league game, whoever fills in would probably be Tony Kanaan, I think would end up pretending to be Kyle Larson for that race for purposes of the fantasy game. Just like last year, what's his name? Justin Allgaier, was it? Pretended to be Kyle Larson for the Coke 600 in our game because Larson didn't make it to Charlotte in time to start that race.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've heard the Tony Kanaan. I'm pretty sure that's been confirmed that he'll be the backup guy. So still not a bad guy. I don't think in any world we're going to see Kyle Larson miss the Indy 500. But
it would have to involve rain. So the one thing is, like, it would really hose him in NASCAR if he doesn't make it in time to Charlotte to start that race.
Mm-hmm.
The way their championship format works.
Yeah,
so that's the one scenario we don't have Larson.
Yeah, they made that rule for him.
Yeah, good weather this year. Let's have good weather in both 100%. Races. Let's have good weather.
Let's get to Alex Kane's question. He gave us some more details on his lineup. He's got Palou for 2 races, Lundgaard 1, Herta 1, Rahal 2, Malukas 1, Simpson 1, locked out of Ericsson, Siegel, Armstrong, and VK. That's probably a good sign. Looks like he made some cash then. He dropped Siegel and VK last week. That's 3.9 million to the bank. He's got 109 million team value. That's pretty high for INDYCAR. 623K left in the bank. So
it sounds like you're bought in on Kiffin Simpson, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I think Kiffin Simpson's really found something the last few rounds.
He showed pace in practice on both sets of tires. So I like Kiffin Simpson a lot this weekend.
And these are all locks. So I guess, I think the only advice we could give him is is any one of these that he should drop in preparation of re-signing for the 500 or drop for maybe
Herta.
Oh, I was going to say Lundgaard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, Andretti guys right now, I mean, they looked terrible today. I don't know if you guys watched that, and I think that they're still trying to figure out this whole strategy on what they're going to do. It doesn't mean they're going to look terrible in the race, but their qualifying efforts were not great whatsoever. Just wanted to mention Kiffin Simpson being my number 1 value play this week. He did me right today. He'll be starting 10th in this race. Very happy with Kiff Dog, so big shout out to Kiff Dog. They're calling him Kiff Dog now too at Chip Ganassi, so I'm very proud of them as well.
And for that matter, if we're talking about Andretti drivers, Kyle Kirkwood starting even further back than Herta. And he did have a spin in practice and destroyed one of those sets of black tires in the process. So another one to potentially not have for this week, but somebody I would really like for the 500.
Yeah, both Herta and Lundgaard would be spendy to drop right now.
But Lundgaard just went up 1.2 and
Yeah, that's true.
a possible re-sign for the 500. So
Yeah,
would hold
expensive to
Lundgaard.
drop, but the value loss that you're going to incur might be even more than the drop fee.
yeah,
I'm not ready to write Lundgaard. I know I just talked about qualifying was a huge disappointment, but I still think he's in for a solid Saturday and should move up spots. And he's shown that he's very good at this track.
Agreed.
but he's starting 14th.
That's fine.
He is.
Yeah.
He'll
Overtake
creep into
points.
top 10. One guy we're not talking about yet, there nobody's mentioned. We go back to the Chip Ganassi camp. Obviously, Alex Palou on the pole. You've got Kiffin Simpson in 10th. Scott Dixon last week in Barber started pretty much dead last and worked his way up to 12th, if I'm not mistaken. He's starting 16th. So if we have the same math, he should be pretty great play this week as well. So a lot of overtake points there. So just kind of looking at that.
I would go Dixon for overtake points over Lundgaard with no shade being thrown at Lundgaard right now.
Yeah, I like Dixon better, and I can sign him for Indy.
Yeah.
Dixon's a threat pretty much every year there.
Yeah, out of those two, I'm going Dixon all the way. I love Lundgaard. I'm with Ryan. That's a very tough one to look with, but you just cannot. I mean, Dixon, yeah, he's only won this race one time. That was back in 2020. But just with who he is, what he's done in this series, I mean, you can kind of put him in the same category as like Will Power at this track specifically. And that's why I had those two on my official picks video I did on the INDYCAR network this week. It was Dixon and Power. So I still feel good. I mean, I hate that Dixon did qualify where he did, but for overtake points, I mean, that's your dude this week, 100%. I think Will Power could potentially creep in for a podium. And I know that that's kind of wild to say, but I mean, we've seen him do some magical stuff at this track.
Isn't this his? I think I heard a fun fact today. This is his most race wins is at the G at most poles.
Yes.
Okay.
Most poles at this track, so he's had that. So it sucks he couldn't get up there today. His quote unquote, it was tight. It was tight. He said it was tight like at least 8 times in the post race interview or the post qualifying interview. So very tight.
He said he lost a ton of time in, like, I think it was turns 1 and 2. Yeah. And the fact that he still, the fact that you put that lap time together with, I think he said he lost 2/10. I forgot exactly what it was, but he lost a ridiculous amount of time. And for him to put that lap together, that machine's got some speed.
Yeah, that dude is a certified psycho behind the wheel. I love it. And he's been doing it for years, man. So yeah, but I know I didn't want to drift too far back into talking about Power, but yeah, definitely had to roll with Scott Dixon for overtake points.
Solid question. General kind of gameplay strategy question from Sterling Russell. At what point in the season is it a good idea to focus more on points than value? I'm guessing at least halfway, maybe 3/4 of the season. I don't know if you guys have an opinion yet, but the reality is this is actually the first year we've run INDYCAR in this format. So we can tell you how this has worked with the other sports on our platform. And you are right that a very kind of safe general guideline is halfway through the season. Like you really want to start thinking about it. With our F1 game, which driver salaries fluctuate very, very differently. Usually the advice we give to people is that somewhere when your team gets to about 120 to 130 million, you tend to get to this crest where just like it's harder to lose value. It's easier to keep it. And so it's less about how far into the season you are. It's more about when does that point of stability come. But I think the reality is, given that this is the first year, we're going to have to kind of wait and see where that inflection point is in INDYCAR. I can tell you for certain, just looking at, actually, I can't for certain. Let me go look at, if I look at global leaderboard,
120.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you have guys in F1 that are already
140,
which is insane. You also have, I don't know what 85,000 players or something. So there's more
Yeah.
iterations of potential.
As, someone's going to get lucky and not have anybody retire or get
Yeah.
caught cheating or anything like that.
Mhm.
So in reality, my gut, if I was to guess, is probably going to be, if your team in IndyCar gets into the 115, 120 range, you're probably at a spot where you can be a little bit more aggressive about signing drivers much more for points than for value.
It also, go ahead, Mike.
I'm at 109, and directionally, I don't feel rich. I don't feel poor. I feel like there's a lot of good options, but I've done the math on the teams. Interesting fun fact: last week, you could have spent 97 million on your lineup and gotten 823 points. There's a
Wow.
lot of value in I can pull up let me pull it up real quick because it is actually a nice
That
fun
that
fact.
also is a big consideration in IndyCar and Cup versus F1. It's like you sign a driver in Formula One who's let's say their average for the last 4 or 5 races is 15th position. The likelihood that they finish a race in 5th is really, really low. But I think in these other 2 series, there's a lot higher likelihood that underdogs can come from behind and have a race where they stand out like that.
Yeah, so
Especially with the diversity tracks.
Yeah.
For sure.
last for Barber, if you had Pillow, Lungard, VK, Rossi, Rahal, Siegel, that was 97.6 million, and you would have walked away with 823 points. The best possible lineup that you could have put together was Pillow, Lungard, VK, Dixon, Rossi, McLaughlin for 126 million. So a huge price difference, over to almost $30 million price difference. That was worth 853 points. So right now in the IndyCar game, points and value are both for the taking with the right contract selections.
Most expensive lineup is not necessarily the best one.
It was just for
yeah.
sake of throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's the point. Like that's the point though. It's not like you don't have to have all the money to have a really good lineup.
Mhm.
What I would say is that it sort of naturally shifts towards points rather than value as the value spots start to disappear, as the salaries start to stabilize more. I think IndyCar is kind of unique though, because so this is round number 5 of the season out of 17. Of the 12 races remaining, we have how many ovals? Like Indy, Gateway, Iowa, Milwaukee, Nashville.
Oh,
Is
Nashville.
that's
Nashville.
6 ovals. Like half the remaining schedule is ovals. So, and some drivers are better at ovals than others. And so you're going to have a lot of natural value spots for like short-term pickups just because, well, we're coming to an oval. We got an oval guy. So the diversity of tracks really helps.
Yeah, based on what his price has been doing, I'm pretty sure New Garden's league adoption rate is going to be like 99% at some of these oval races coming
Without
up.
question.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of New Garden real soon.
Yeah, it definitely creates a fun dynamic. I think like I personally would probably be signing a lot more 1 race contracts in Indy leagues than in F1 for sure. Matthew Crowley said, any drivers you suggest picking up this week for more than 1 race based off of what we've seen in their Indy 500 practice sessions? I don't know.
We haven't had oval practice yet. There have been some test sessions. I don't have times handy for those.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Spoiler
you said that, 'cause
alert.
I feel like I missed it, but I did.
Yes.
I didn't.
Spoiler alert, New Garden and Pato.
Yeah. And give me Rossi, give me Scott Dixon, like who's had a lot of results at Indy. If we're looking down the order, give me Connor Daly, like who's really an oval guy. I would say give me Graham Rahal. And there could be some gems in these one-offs. We haven't had any conversations yet about where we'll price them, but Castro Neves, past winner. Takuma Sato, past winner.
He was
Kyle
really
Larson
strong in testing.
Yes, Sato looked really strong until he crashed the car.
He was strong in that wall too.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like his F1 career, actually. But
he got that out the way, though. It's out the way now. So if he comes back, he's going to be ripping. So.
He found the limit. He found the limit. He knows where the limit is now.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson looked pretty good last year. Like he'll be really intriguing as well. So, yeah, lots of potential spots for oval guys coming up.
Larson had a shot, maybe not to win, but to put up a top 5. Like he took a pretty late pit speeding
Got a
penalty.
speeding
I believe it
penalty.
was. Yeah,
He got a speeding penalty.
He's still got a lot to learn when it comes to just all of the functionality of the car, man. And I mean, the differences that you have. I mean, he does talk about how it is there are similarities with, the Gen 7 car and this car, and I get that. But at the same time, man, just from everything I've learned about what these guys are having to do, it gets pretty wild. So just something to note on that. I would love to see him, secure a top 5. Just because, I do have the NASCAR roots and big KL guy. But at the same time, man, I just it's fun to take those big name guys, right? It's fun to take these guys that are coming in, but definitely still remember who is on this circuit day in and day out. Don't maybe over prioritize. That would be the only thing I would say.
Good question from Lisa B with a well-formatted ask. I have McLaughlin 1 race.
Pato Award for 3.
Yep.
Marcus Armstrong for 2. Christian Rasmussen for 2. Walked out of Herta and Schwartzman. Value is 1013. Has 34 available for 2 drivers. How do we round this out?
So I feel like if we're preparing for the 500 with 34, it feels like Newgarden's at 21.8, a little bit on sale.
Yeah, like we could take Newgarden and then we could take somebody on a 1 racer, or we could take somebody who we think is going to be an Indy threat, like maybe like a Connor, maybe not Connor Daly for this race, but like Christian Rasmussen maybe, who is a
12.2 million
ECR. 12.2 left. Okay, so we can go as high as David Malukas. Probably not David Malukas, but like maybe I'd do a 1 racer. I probably do a 1 racer for Kiffin Simpson, and then I reassess for Indy. Like maybe I'm looking at an ECR driver like Rasmussen or Daly for Indy. Like we probably just do a 1 racer for whoever we like best that we can afford after we get Newgarden for, I would say 4 races. Newgarden for either 4 or 5. I want Newgarden not just for Indy, but for Gateway, which is 4 races from now. So
I like that.
I like that. One. The only edit I would give, Lisa, if you're chasing some value and you're a fan of a little bit of risk, consider dropping Rasmussen and picking up DeFrancesco or Foster for a 1 race contract, unless you're super bullish on one of them for the 500 as well, and then do a 2 race contract. I'm just looking at that. Rasmussen, what is he? 19th. 19th. 19th.
Yeah, starting 19th. Yeah.
Starting 19th at 8.5, or you can pick up DeFrancesco or Foster for mid 5s, starting 5th and 3rd.
Yeah, the real question is, can those cars hold position? I don't think that either of those guys. I don't think either of those guys are getting any overtake points. The question is, can they how well can they hold up to the competition?
Well,
these
where they're priced at. I mean, I don't have the salary table.
Like you're going to get a lot of points per buck unless something goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if they finish like 15th, they're going to go up. Well, at least $1.5 million, I'd have to guess. I don't have the formula in front of me.
I could do the formula. While you go to the next question.
I'll go to the next question. Matthew Crowley.
They should get some massive improvement points, whatever they do. Like if it's like top 10,
big time. I feel like there was a question about improvement points. I saw. I guess I'm
Matthew.
Matthew, for this weekend, do you weigh? Oh, there it is. Do you weigh improvement points more heavily? RLL drivers compared to last week, or overtake points on underperforming good teams?
I think this is the question of the week that I think we're all still trying to figure out. Qualifying ended, 20 minutes before we got on this thing. But yeah, that is the key. It's like, do you take the guys that qualified really well and are going to score a ton of improvement points, or do you put your eggs in the improvement point basket on guys a little further back? That's going to be the main thing I'm going to be thinking about tonight, trying to figure out my lineup for tomorrow. So that's a great question.
If you have two open positions, you might be in a spot where you could split your strategy, do one of each, depending on what your lineup looks like. You could take like, you know, DiFrancesco or Foster, and then you could take on the flip side. And we haven't talked about Kirkwood, have we? I mean, he's starting 21st. He's valued at
Things
22 million.
yeah, things were not good for Kirkwood today.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, bad qualifying.
Yeah.
Practice wasn't so great. Had a spin as well, which
And
could
he hasn't.
potentially affect his tire availability.
Yeah.
If I was
And he,
going to do anything with Andretti, I would go Herta in that position just because, I mean, we have seen Colton Herta at this race start near the back and work his way up, I think, to 7th, starting in like 20th. So he's a guy that I wouldn't mind if I was going for anybody with Andretti, and he's at 21.5, so you can get him a little bit cheaper than Kirkwood. Um, that's just one suggestion I would throw out, just because we've seen like he's proven himself essentially, like that he can do that here.
yeah, and Kirkwood doesn't have great history here to start with.
True.
Matthew Crowley also said earlier in the chat, just a shout out. He loves the driver profiles and stats screens. And for those of you who haven't found those yet, if you're on your My Team screen and you tap on a driver, you will get a drop down, and then you'll have a button that says profile. It's one way you can get to their profile. Or if you're on the driver selection panel, whereas the list of drivers, you tap on a driver, it'll open their profile, and you can see a bunch of statistics. There's two different pages with charts and graphs where you can look at salary changes over time. As the season go on, I'm much more of a quick player these days because I think some of us on the call are just like in so many an unmanageable amount of leagues. So like one of the things I look at most often is the trend of a driver's salary. If you see someone that's gone down multiple weeks in a row, they've had bad luck. Could be a good opportunity to pick them up. So, anyways, lots of good data on those screens, and those screens are going to get a lot better over time. We have a lot of ideas in the future we want to add to those.
I also want to say shout out to Matt Crowley. I knew a Matt Crowley in college. I don't know if that's that Matt Crowley, but just happy that Matt Crowley's here.
Indiana Jacks. Hey, fellas, I may have missed it earlier, but do you have a guess on Larson's projected value? Any guesses?
We haven't had any conversations yet. I imagine those conversations will be influenced by what we see in practice next week. Nice thing about the 500 is we do have a whole week of practice leading up to qualifying. First practice starts on Tuesday, and we'll have a lot of data to figure out what kind of pace he has, as well as all the other one-off drivers.
The better the pace, the higher the price. Simple as that. So there will be some intense discussions and data-driven debate about pricing all of the one-off drivers. It's a very entertaining Slack channel when it happens.
I think obviously reserving till we see the pace. Like if I had to price him right now, I think the price would be a little higher than people expect.
Over 20 mil?
Yes.
Yeah.
Over 20 mil.
Hundo P, dude.
Yeah.
Like not, yeah.
So not Kyle Larson's talent driver. Darn.
Oh no, he would never be unless he looks like a donkey in practice.
Yeah, the
That'd be
game would
100% league adoption on him if he was in talent driver territory.
Yeah, we don't price drivers for the memes or the lulls. It will be a factual pricing.
This is for them real boys.
Yeah.
And
Do we think Marcus Ericsson remembers that qualifying is 4 laps this year?
we hope so.
He almost missed the 500 last year because, but never mind that.
Yeah, he's had a rough bit too this season, so I hope he can pull it together.
Any other questions? If you got them, get them in, because if not, we are happy to end a little bit early, give everybody their day back. While we're waiting, any closing thoughts, you guys, on strategy?
I have a quick question for Chase.
Okay.
Does Foster get into the Fast Six if he's clean shaven?
I don't think so, dude. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact. I mean, mustaches bring confidence. I think we all can agree to that. I'm a pretty confident guy. He's still leading the points. He's the at the top of the board for INDYCAR Mustache Champion of the Year. So,
Really?
now now he's literally starting inside of the top 3. So I think it says something. So it has to be a mixture of just being back at IMS and having a mustache and being with Ray Hall, because Bobby Ray Hall had a mustache. So it's all kind of coming together. That's the trifecta right there. Bobby Ray Hall at the top with a mustache, Louis with mustache, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I think it was kind of destiny.
Did anybody
No
else
shade.
lose Chase's video as he started talking about oh, there he is. Okay, never mind.
Hi.
Yeah, you disappeared the moment the mustache came up, but I think that was
Really?
just my
Oh,
display.
I had him clear.
That wasn't you.
That's because you're in a bunker.
That's because I am in a basement right now.
Metal out of the wall, William.
I'm in New York for a little bit. I'll be back in Texas next week. We did have a question come in during this mustache talk from Indiana Checks. First question: is there a way to view live scoring for the league? You can view live scoring for your team during the event by pulling your team up. If you go to the league standings and you tap on a team, you can see their live points. We don't have a live leaderboard yet. Hopefully, we have a live leaderboard before the end of the season. It's got to compete with a bunch of other things that we want to build around here, and it's just a little bit of a technical trickiness to have live leaderboards for that many teams, but it is a fun problem, and that's what I live for. So hopefully live leaderboards before the end of the season. Live scoring for the league. I told you the best way to get it right now. Question 2, a player had Alexander Rossi as talent driver but did not get double points. Was it because he only had a 5-driver roster? Yes. You must have a complete team in any of our games, whether it's INDYCAR, F1, NASCAR. You have to have a complete lineup in order for your talent driver to score those double points. So if you're short 1 driver, you're really short 2 drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well
you
said.
could click the star without having a full lineup, but you still have to have a full lineup for the star to count.
And there is a bright red flashing banner that is on that page. Maybe we need to increase the frequency of the flash.
I think we need to increase the vertical height and just make it, way, way bigger. As
Yeah.
it just gets increasingly bigger until it takes over your whole screen as we get
Make it
closer to
strobe.
lockdown. Yeah,
Throw in
exactly.
some obnoxious sound effect. Can we get the front end guys on that?
yeah. Well, and we also do send a notification that your lineup is complete 24/4 and 1 hours before lockdown. So, that make sure your notifications are turned on. Tell your league mates to turn their notifications on.
Patching the emergency alert sound.
Yeah.
Yes, like
That'll
that.
get their attention.
That was everyone here doing a very nice job of politely saying there is no excuse
Yeah.
for not getting double points to your talent driver.
I think long term our solution is probably moving someday to a edit save lineup screen where we can run a validation check every time you make a change to confirm that you have all the correct positions or something to that extent. We shall see.
Sterling's come back. Are we all dropping Lundgaard? I think it's a split decision on that.
Let's see. I think I still. Yeah, I do. I have him. I had him for a 5 racer, and this one is my last race. I've made $3.5 million on him, but at 22.5, it would cost me $750 to cut him.
You're still
I
up.
don't know, man. That's a tough one.
You're still up.
I don't currently have Lundgaard. I don't think I'm signing him this week. If I have Lundgaard, if it's my last race for Lundgaard, I consider cutting him and having him available for Indy instead of having him on cooldown for Indy, which will probably go better for him than tomorrow's race will, if I had to guess. If I have Lundgaard for longer, it's a tougher decision. The question will be, what am I doing instead of Lundgaard?
Yeah.
Like, if you're telling me I'm going to take Joseph Newgarden instead of Christian Lundgaard, okay. Like, that seems like a solid, reasonable thing to do. If the plan is hazier than that, I'm not so sure. It's really like any time the question is, should I drop somebody? What am I doing instead?
Yeah. Well said. I don't know the answer to that either yet. If I drop him, but I agree. I'm kind of on the fence. I also have Siegel on a 5 race contract. This race being his 5th, up $2 million on him. So I got to I don't know. I may potentially drop both of those going
If you
into
want to
this
keep it in the
event.
family, I say go Pato at this point. I mean, Pato's going to have decent position. We know he's going to be decent in the 500. If you're going to swap out anybody for him, you want to keep it in the McLaren family, go Pato right now.
Mhm.
That's the way I look at it.
I'm looking forward to Indy just for the Nolan Siegel revenge tour. Like
Sure. We all
last
are.
year, like he drove the wheels off that thing. It didn't work out as far as getting into the race. It was with a different team, but like I think he showed us a lot of what he's made of. Like with even an unsuccessful attempt and all kinds of craziness since then. Things he's had to deal with. I think that he could do something at Indy like this coming month of May, just because Indy might owe him one.
Yeah.
I think if he finishes inside the top 15, that's a great day.
Oh, for sure.
That's the way I look for it for him, especially after kind of like crashing last year. I mean, it was his first time out there, so I don't
And
just
I,
finish the race, keep it
Yeah.
clean, baby.
He left it all out there trying to get in too. Like I give him all the credit in the world for that.
He did. Great kid, man.
God, I'm so excited for this race. Like just
Yeah.
talking Indy 500, I'm like, can we fast forward? Like I cannot
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, it's like we are in May. It is May the 9th. Like we are only 2 weeks away. I'll be in Indianapolis in literally over just a week from now. So I've got the itch. I think we all do.
It's a great experience. I've been to 2 500s. It's definitely worth making the pilgrimage at some point if you're a racing fan.
Man, it's crazy to think. Yeah, I'll be making my third I'm making my third this year. So I'm going to the Snake Pit for the first time too, guys. I'm going to
really?
party with Gronk. I'm
Good
going
luck.
to get in there. I'm gonna wear pit vipers. I might. I don't know. Just be around. If you get a phone call from me, I'm in trouble. I don't know what's gonna happen. So pray for me.
We don't have a line item in the GridRival budget for bail, so just you can call us, but
Yeah, you happen to call us,
I'll
and
give you
we'll
a call.
probably
Just an
ask who
update.
in your list who else you want us to call.
yeah,
Who can we forward the
Can you run my
message to?
emergency contacts list, Ross? Yeah.
Well, on that note, we're out of questions, and we got a lot of good stuff in for the day. So, exciting racing ahead. It's Indy 500. Everybody's stoked. I love the build up to the event. It's so awesome. I'm glad you get to be there, Chase. Thank you everybody for coming. Reminder to like and subscribe to the channel before you leave. And we will see you in 2 weeks? When are we gonna do our indie show? Gotta do it after qualifying.
If I'm back here for that one, I will be live from IMS. So that'll be
Live
fun.
from the Snake
From the
Pit.
Snake Pit.
There we
live
go.
from
Yeah.
the Snake Pit wearing
Well,
pit vipers.
We'll figure it out.
Get our
like-
channel banned.
I imagine like you just did, like we just did this like after carb day from the Snake Pit or something.
Oh man, we could.
It was
That's
like
probably an interesting time.
that was like
I hear carb day can get interesting.
yeah, Cletus getting asked about Talladega Boulevard, and he's like, my channel would have been taken down if like any of the stuff I saw there went online.
He's not lying, dude. He is not lying. I've been going there for years. I know all about that.
Yeah, that's another race we need to get to. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the event. We'll be back here in a couple weeks to discuss the Indy 500. See you later. And we're done.
That was good.